And oh, here we are, we're off. So this is Shovel Knight. You're the title character, and this is Plains. One of the first things you're gonna notice, they're jumping a lot. Jumping is key to fast movement in this game.
Yeah, anytime Shovel Knight starts walking from like a standing still state, there's a little bit of a wind up before he reaches his full speed. So, in most cases, it's just faster to jump as soon as you hit the ground. In some cases, it's also to set up movement like it is in this room with the checkpoint.
Coming up, Leap of Faith, do they both get it?
Yep.
Both got it. Leap of Faith isn't too hard, but if you miss it, then it's kind of costly.
Yeah, you'll die to the spikes and you'll be reverted back to the checkpoint.
Yeah, it's not the most costly death, but you don't really want any deaths, especially not at this level.
Yeah, looks like Primorix is fumbling a little bit on his pogos there on the dirt blocks, giving applesauc a slight lead. But we'll see if the lead changes here in this long room with the dirt. The players will mash between hitting jump and attack rapidly there in order to continue digging while moving forward.
Dirt Mountain is one of those places where you'll really see a difference between the beginners and the masters. Because, like, the beginners will have to stop and shovel the dirt out of the way, but the masters will probably go through the room without stopping.
Both runners coming up to the bubble wrap, as we like to call it, which is, I believe it's a screen wrap, but they're going to try to manipulate this dragon properly so he moves over as quickly as possible. And then they're going to line up some of the bubbles with part of the top of the screen.
Apple had to do 3 pogos there. Primorix did it in 2. Caught him up a little bit.
Nice. And they come up on the first boss fight, Black Knight. You can stunlock this boss by jumping, hitting the boss as you land with your shovel, and then canceling the recovery from the attack with your jump as soon as you land again. And then chain that together and you get the stunlock.
One tip I have for newer runners here is don't aim for Black Knight's body, aim for his head. It makes it easier to time the shovel swing.
Yeah, the earlier you hit him, the better.
Okay, but who do they get in town? Because you have to visit town once, but then you can just leave again.
Yeah, there's a small chance that an NPC will appear, besides from Farrell's the guard. Primorix had another guard, Apple had, I think, a little orange basket carrying person.
Right, so coming up is Pridemore Keep, the first of the main stages. There's not too much to this stage. Like, it's a little bit easier than Plains, but you'll still see some differences between the beginners and the masters here. Ooh, both of them got Gentle Hop.
Here, it's a trick only used in one room, where you swing your shovel as you hit the screen transition, and if you do that during the startup of your jump, you can extend your jump. So in that one particular spot, if you aim it correctly, you'll extend your jump by 1 tile and land on a platform you otherwise can't make.
Yeah, it looks like the rats cooperated with both the runners there. Those rats move a little bit randomly, and sometimes they can get in the way and force you to deal with them somehow.
Yeah. For anyone wondering what low percent means in this game, it means to collect basically nothing. In fact, yeah, not basically, you collect nothing. You don't get any extra health, you don't get any relics, no shovel upgrades, nothing. So throughout most of the first half of the game, there isn't too much difference in terms of route or tactics used. It's mostly the later stages of the game that get significantly harder without the items.
The great thing about low percent, though, is the shovel is such a powerful weapon that you don't really need anything else. Like, it's a great weapon. Hard to master, but when you do, oh boy.
Yeah, that's what really separates, like in every Shovel Knight category, pretty much. Like the use of the character's basic kit. Like you can easily tell which runner is more experienced based on how they utilize that over everything else. These two runners are pretty evenly matched. Applesauc is a newer runner compared to Primorix. I believe they've both been, well, I think Apple's been around for at least a year or two now. But
Apple
Primorix,
is newer.
yeah, Apple's newer. Primorix has been around since like 2015.
Apple is currently number 2 in any percent. That's really good. Oh,
Yeah,
so King Knight fight.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
it's difficult to explain. Just enjoy.
Apple did not quite get the quick kill, but I think Primorix did.
Yeah, Primorix didn't go for the extra shovel swing during the last set of pogos, but like getting that is kind of dependent on your spacing relative to King, so I think you made the right call. If I mean, the game is pretty much tied at this point, so
So one of the things you saw during that King Knight fight is jumping cancels the shovel swing animation. That can allow you to get in a lot more swings in a shorter period of time. And so when you master that, then the knights just melt.
yeah, that technique combined with the fact that like enemies in this game, when you damage them, their damage hitbox turns off. So that effectively like rules out contact damage while you are dealing damage to a boss.
So coming up in Lich Yard, this stage isn't too much harder than Primorix. There's a couple of things to keep track of. First one is the frogs. They're not your friends. Their movement is somewhat random, as far as I know. It feels random.
I believe so.
And then there's these dark rooms, which aren't going to be any difficulty for speedrunners. They might throw off a casual player, but the speedrunners know where everything is and know how to get through the rooms. Oh boy, this upcoming pogo is scary. Kind of. It's not too hard, but if you mess it up, you could get crushed against the ceiling. There is a way to bounce this Beto all the way over to the right and then pogo off of it to get to the next room, but it's kind of tricky and difficult, and it's safer to just take the platform.
Yeah, these platforms lower when there's 2 of something on them, so that's why they have to constantly look for these skulls during the puzzle rooms. And during that last room, Primorix actually pulled ahead of applesauc.
It's interesting seeing the difference there. Primorix took the lower path, Apple took the upper path. Is there a difference in timing between the two?
It actually, like, there's a certain strat you can go for where you damage boost off of the second skeleton there, and it requires that you take the lower path, or at least it's much easier if you take the lower path. applesauc may have taken the top path because that's what he's used to doing from any percent.
Yeah, this last dark room can be kind of scary. They're having to jump and shovel a skeleton in the dark, but more than that, the frogs are again in this room and they're not your friend. Oh boy, coin flip man.
Yeah, Spectre Knight will teleport around the room at some point in the fight, and his first teleport is always happens after he moves back from whatever corner you're in, and that's the opposite. So the next time Spectre teleports, the character or the players have a 50-50 chance of getting good luck.
They both got the coin flip, and they both wreck him.
That's nice. It almost never happens.
I'm just gonna throw bless RNG in chat. That's great. Yeah. I think it's supposed to be a 50-50 chance.
As far as I'm aware.
So in Dream 1, Shield Knight's basically gonna appear after a set amount of time or if they run out of life. So they're gonna take out all their life first. The thing to watch for here is the skeletons do double damage if they have their swords raised or out. And so it should take them 4 hits and they both got it.
Apple pulled ahead a bit in the dream. I believe he optimized his damage taking. Not really sure what Primorix was thinking.
This is a close race. The lead keeps changing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's see how they handle Explodatorium.
Yeah, Explodatorium has many elements that are on a global timer that happen from the moment the level begins, which includes the jump in with the opening text on screen. So depending on how they play in the first rooms will determine like certain cycles in later rooms, or rather what cycle they end up meeting.
Ooh.
So Primorix already lost time in the not only in this room but in a later room.
That cycle is tight and low percent. I don't think you can spare that much time.
You can't.
Yeah, Apple is still on cycle, so he can pogo the rat. I think pretty much
Well-
the damage boost.
Well, Apple, I'm surprised that worked for Apple, because normally if you don't do that damage boost precisely, then you're not on the right cycle. So if he goes for this, he might, okay good, he didn't die. I'm surprised that worked.
They're both on cycle, man. Like,
I think they're
Primorix
cheating.
made it.
In all seriousness though, that's honestly incredible. So they're coming up on a mini boss which takes 23 hits to kill. They will most likely kill him after he transforms into a big yeti.
It's possible to kill him before he transforms, but basically involves reflecting a whole lot of potions and having him hit. And so it's just probably not going to happen.
Yeah, you need to get kind of lucky. The red potions will always fly back at the boss, but the green ones just fly in a straight line. Both will damage, but yeah, the red, you have to get lucky and have a red one fly toward you while you're walking up to the mini boss.
So coming up ladder skip. Apple's gonna bait the Chompy into position so he can pogo off it and grab the ladder from off screen. That is a lot harder than it looks. It's really hard. Apple detoured for what he wanted health, but he got a bomb.
I mean, that's the
Ooh,
unfortunate thing.
that's scary.
I understand why he did that. Because there's a lot of things in these two rooms that, actually pretty much every enemy in these rooms does a whole heart. And he was already at 1.5. Primorix somehow is at full health. I'm not really sure how he did that unless he stopped for an apple.
Apples too. That's a clancher. Explodatorium is one of the first difficult stages you come across, and it's very easy to die there.
Both runners now fighting Plague Knight. Plague Knight tries to jump over you during the start of the fight, and then later on he just jumps faster and faster. And you can reflect the bombs back at him, and if you reflect most of the bombs,
Man,
it won't turn into tracer powder.
Plague Knight played a lot more friendly for applesauc, only did a couple of hops and then went back to the right side. Apple didn't have to go anywhere. And he's got the lead again. Plague Knight is one of those fights where you could very easily lose 10-20 seconds off your PB just because you missed a swing.
And we'll see how the runners handle Iron Whale. This is probably the easiest level of the World 2, as we call it, the trio of Explodatorium, Iron Whale, and Lost City. This one has, I mean, as far as I feel, it's much easier to move through, but there's just 3 really hard tricks that you have to nail, and they all happen to be like do or die scenarios.
Anchor skip scares me every time.
Yeah, we'll get to that one later. For the most part, though, they're just going to be doing what we've been doing, holding right and jumping at the right time. And ideally, they don't want to take any damage from anything that they don't want to, just so they can save all their health for as many damage boosts as they choose to do. Apple's coming up on the first big execution test. This is the tentacle room. Okay, good. He did the only 1 damage boost version.
Primorix took the safe way.
Yeah, Primorix did movement that guarantees he hits the second from the top tentacle.
Yeah, hitting both the top 2 tentacles requires some precise movement, and if you mess it up, you probably won't get either.
Yeah. After this brief auto-scroll, they'll fight this fish mini-boss. Now the fish can be at varying heights on the screen, and its only weak point is inside the chest. So you have to jump up and hit it, and hope that it's at the right height for you to hit it at least 3 times on one of your jumps. Or 2 of your jumps, rather, so you can then hit it, or kill it in one cycle, before it moves to the right side of the screen.
Perfect from applesauc.
Yeah, I got a very quick fight.
Oof.
Primorix took some damage, unfortunately.
Yeah, that chest takes 12 hits, and it's pretty difficult to get them all in the first cycle.
Yeah.
If you get hit once, you're probably not going to make it. Oh, this Duck Knight's kind of troublesome and low percent.
Yeah, I'm guessing Apple was going for a damage boost strat. Good dodge on that anchor.
There's multiple ways you can deal with that Duck Knight. You can just damage boost and run past it, or you could try to kill it with pogos. Both of them damage boosted.
Apple scared me on anchor skip, but he landed it. Let's see how Primorix fares. Ideally, the runners want to jump and land on the lefternmost tip, or leftmost tip of the anchors. Looks like Primorix was going for a setup with the fireballs, but the mage didn't cooperate with him.
Anchor skip is one of those scary things that if you don't nail it, you'll probably fall to your death. So, good on Primorix for taking it safe. Boy, that treasure fight.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's Apple's usual strategy there. Because usually people go for a specific strat like Primorix has done, where he sets up by taking intentional damage.
Oh, Primorix got the bad RNG.
Yeah, unfortunately when Treasure does this, you have to wait for him to come back down to the bottom of the screen. Well, you should wait for him to come down, because if you kill him at the top, he slowly floats down, and the level will not end until Treasure Knight is on the floor. Alright, Apple enters Lost City with Primorix hot on his heels. Lost City is a very perilous level, full of lava pits, bottomless pits, spikes.
Hot on his heels because it's Lost City. It's the lava level.
Indeed. So Apple's going to be setting up for a trick of my own design, where you wait for a specific moment and then free this bird. And if done correctly, the bird will fly to a specific spot on the screen later on, which will allow you to pogo on it and skip waiting for the Bodo, the giant beetle. Excellent.
Jesus. I thought he was too fast for a moment there.
Yeah, that's usually my problem, which is why I end up bouncing on it twice. But so many things can go wrong between, like, if you get hit once from anything, you're probably not going to make it because of the setbacks. And, like, those blorbs at any time can just jump at you and hit you.
It's possible to bounce off the bird on the rebound, but that's a lot scarier than just getting it right the first time.
Yeah, you'll notice both runners jumped at that birder and then swung their shovel. So, again, when you hit an enemy in this game, you temporarily disable their damage hitbox. Or their contact
Jesus, I haven't seen
anyway.
Primorix do that room that way before.
Yeah, he's pretty good at it.
Oh boy. The slimes played nice with Apple, they didn't with Primorix.
Yeah.
Little bit of a safer setup with the green slime there. It's possible to destroy the dirt block and then hit the slime in midair without stopping. Oh good, get over the wall. Yeah, Primorix also takes a somewhat safer setup. Oh boy, Beetle 2.
Yeah, so once again, Apple's going to use one of these birders to hopefully skip waiting for the rest of the giant beetle auto-scroll.
He's got the setup.
Yeah.
Dragon asks who is ahead. At the moment, that is applesauc. He's about a room ahead. So Moonlight is a rather easy fight compared to most other things. You're just gonna hit him a couple of times while he dives through the air, then go towards this corner and shovel him to death. I mean, there's a little bit more to it than that, but it's an easy fight to get down.
Yeah, it's much easier compared to most of the other bosses. Alright, so both runners will now encounter the second dream. And ideally they'll go for a setup where they will die in the air and then catch Shield Knight while falling. And if you catch Shield Knight while you're dead, but also in the air, it'll actually cause Shovel Knight to slide away from the campfire outside of the dream sequence, thus saving precious time.
One of the tricky things about that dream setup is that you're basically going to look to take 5 hits and then die, even though it's possible to die after 4.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Apple... Oh, I see.
He has a different setup.
Yeah, I forgot that he had a slightly faster version like that. That somehow... Oh, wait, he got pushed the other way.
Primorix has the 5-hit setup. Pogo off to Chompy, take the hit, and he's got it.
I wonder how those two versions compare, because Apple had to slide across the screen a farther distance than Primorix did. So even though Primorix had to take an extra hit, it may have evened out.
Wait, look at Apple using those shovel swings to get a little bounce.
Yeah, if you do that correctly, you can hit something and then hold the opposite direction to slide on the ice.
So this is Stranded Ship. This is the ice level, although because we're jumping so much, you won't really notice the ice physics too much. Nevertheless, this is still a very difficult stage. And it won't be evident in the first couple of rooms, but when we get to later parts, it will be clear why.
Yeah, this level requires a lot of damage boosting, and it also has very few points to heal, and the checkpoints are few and far between.
I see what you did there, Cyclone. That approves. So yeah, we've got these rainbow bird statues. You have to manipulate them into place, and they're over bottomless pits. And that platform is narrow. You mess it up, you fall to your death. Yes, chat. Let's hear all those cool puns. Because I see what you're doing there. Oh, Apple got the pogo on the hammer bros.
Yeah, so far neither player has taken damage that they didn't want to, so they should both be able to set up for every damage boost. We'll see how Primorix fares.
Looks like the setup, and he's got it.
Yeah.
So the checkpoint Apple just got, if for some reason he got there and he was low on health, it's not a bad idea to take an intentional death to restore health.
Yeah, there's a high likelihood of dying in the last few rooms.
Oh, I haven't seen that pogo strat.
Yeah, not many people go for it for some reason. I think Apple was trying to do Patois' strategy there, but then forgot. So instead he's just going old school.
So Apple's room is super tricky because not only is he navigating a whole bunch of spikes, but a lot of those projectiles do a full circle of damage. Luckily he gets through plenty of health.
Yeah, Primorix has plenty of health to deal with everything in there.
So as long as he's safe on the jumps.
Yeah. Apple executing a beautiful Polar Knight kill. Kind of similar to the Mole or King Knight kill, you just want to shovel and jump and follow him as he runs around the room. I wonder if Primorix will try to employ the same thing. No, Primorix tries to go for an old school strat. It's difficult to tell, but Apple actually uses a strategy where he holds both directions on his keyboard at the same time, which keeps Shovel Knight moving to the left because of the way the game engine prioritizes directions.
Ah, that's a strat that's not available to us controller users.
No, it is. You just need to use the control stick and the D-pad.
That sounds hard.
Yeah, if I can do it, you can do it.
Today I learned. Oh, Clockwork Tower.
Foot pedal. You could set a foot pedal and use it for an input in this game if you wanted to. So Clockwork Tower, like Stranded Ship, also requires a lot of damage boosts, has very few spots to heal. And it's just generally, like, annoying.
I mean, to make Clockwork Tower, in my opinion, is worse than Stranded Ship, because there are a couple of rooms where RNG becomes a major component, and yeah, Apple takes this checkpoint for safety. Death happens a lot in Clockwork. These daggers, RNG.
Yeah, the sign dagger spawns in most of the rooms. I mean, they do have set locations, but we never know where they're going to spawn from. And especially in the room Apple has just now entered, it's very likely that if they spawn in the wrong spot, that will
Oh my
happen.
god, that happened to him in practice! And
Now, see,
that is why...
Yeah, that's why you take the checkpoint. Unfortunately, there's nothing Apple could do, because the dagger doesn't appear on screen until he's already committed to the jump.
And now they're not cooperating. Oh, whoa.
Primorix is showing his experience in that room, and knowing exactly when to swing his shovel. At least that's what I'm going to tell myself, and he didn't just panic and hopefully hit it.
That's what I do. Oh man, I know Primorix goes for the damage boost strat in this auto-scroller.
Yeah, he's one of those crazy people that does that.
So, this is a pseudo auto-scroller. Technically nothing is stopping you from advancing the screen except for instant death.
Yeah, so
Primorix is setting up.
He takes a bunch of damage boosts to then bait this Chompy over.
Yeah, like, you have to bait the Chompy over. Apple's just not going for it.
Yeah. I think that's the right decision. Like, his nerves are already rackled a little bit from the death earlier, probably. And I don't even know if he has ever practiced the damage boost strategy in that room anyway.
It doesn't save as much time as you would think.
Yeah, that, like, all things considered, he's not very far behind Primorix.
Same screen. Oh no!
Oh.
The freaking sign daggers!
Yep. They claim another victim.
I mean, at least Primorix took the checkpoint.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is that it, like, the death earlier evened them up.
Those daggers take no prisoners. That's not entirely wrong, Katarcha.
So the only thing left for both runners in this level, aside from this auto-scroller killing them, is the Tinker Knight fight. Which is a two-phase fight. First phase, Tinker Knight just runs around and throws his wrenches.
Which is a lot harder than it sounds.
Yeah, this is
he runs away a lot.
Fight. He has a very small hitbox. His jumps are timed, but it's just you lose track of them while you're fighting him.
That was a decent fight. But yeah, you're likely to take a lot of damage against Tinker Knight 1, which is unfortunate because the turkey right before the fight is a little out of the way. Primorix doing a damage boost strat.
Ooh, unfortunately didn't jump high enough to meet Tinker Knight and continue the damage. Meanwhile, Apple is bouncing on Tinker Tank, executing a normal strategy. The only thing, like, this is the fastest way to kill him in low percent.
Just pogo him as hard as you can.
Yeah, there's a few things you can do, like in various strategies you can employ that all save a handful of seconds. Like, we'll see if Primorix goes for any extra hits. He
Nope.
did not, he just goes straight into pogos. Yeah, you'll see the Tinker Tank rear back from its normal position after it takes a set amount of damage. Alright. So applesauc enters the flying machine. Primorix is not far behind.
Flying machine is a particularly infamous level among the community. There's quite a few of us that like to call it dying machine. So one of the funny things actually is, like, flying machine is super difficult, but the difficulty isn't that much higher in low percent compared to any percent. I mean, it doesn't look too bad right now, but the flying meanie right there is immediately blocking Apple's path, and he had the sense to double back, so he didn't die to the instant death spikes.
Yeah, the meanies will just fly toward you and then use their fan to blow you into spikes or bottomless pits. Alright, we'll see if Apple does a specific setup on this mini-boss which will allow him to bounce off of it at the end of the fight. So it looks like he's not going for it. If he had gone for it, he could have skipped bouncing on this cannonball in this room. But it's kind of tricky, and if he already knows he's ahead, then I suppose there's no sense trying to lose time and health on a strat you might not be familiar with. So a lead change is definitely still possible on any of the levels we have left. Especially given the room applesauc is about to go in. There's 3 propeller meanies in this level, or in this room rather, and if you jump in specific spots, the meanies will move in a specific way. Thus allowing
bullying
you to
him.
move through. Yeah. Luckily that wasn't too bad. None of them flew directly at Apple, so he was still able to wait in the position he wanted and then set up the bounce when it was available.
Ooh. Did Blue Jawa not show up for Prim?
It did not.
That is rough. I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah, for some reason it just doesn't appear sometimes. Apple keeping his hands busy in the auto-scroller. Primorix opts to take a damage boost. And unfortunately jumps too early to manipulate the first hover meaty.
And the second one is blocking him. And the third one is also blocking him.
And if you... okay, that's a smart decision. If Primorix had given up any more ground, he would have wasted a lot more time, because not only would he still have to deal with that hover meaty, but another one would have respawned since he moved back to the left.
Applesauc did not fall. No laps for Applesauc today. He's probably gonna go for the short version of this wind room. Yeah, he's got it. The timing on that's tight. If you're a little too slow, you'll probably hit the ceiling spikes. Oh boy, Propeller Knight, way to go with this one.
Well, one day I discovered that if you use your jump cancels really well, you can actually get 6 hits, like per each of Propeller Knight's cycles, and then if you wait and start damaging him at a specific point during the second stat, he'll move to the left instead of the right. Apple unfortunately started damaging Propeller too soon, so Propeller went to the right, thus Apple has to do the rest of the phases. Which can be a bit scary as you see there's a billion projectiles and now there's holes everywhere.
So the reason going to the left is important is that as he flies up and to the left, you can pogo off of him and then keep pogoing him before he ever comes down again. Making for a very quick fight.
Yeah.
It's hard to do though.
It's incredibly hard to do. Alright, so similar to Dream 2, in Dream 3 you can perform a damage boost strat to catch Shield Knight, and thus move out of the end of the dream faster. It's much harder to set up than the second dream, and I'm not sure if any runner currently is entirely familiar with executing it in a run.
Primorix got the quick kill.
Yeah, so that'll save him a significant amount of time.
So the thing about the Dream 3 catch, my understanding is that it relies on RNG to go in your favor.
Oh yeah, because one of the hover apps has to hit you at the right time. Right, so Apple has a fairly significant lead of almost an entire minute. That said, it is still anyone's game until we basically, well, yeah, until the Enchantress 1 is killed by either player. It's basically anyone's game. As Apple has entered Tower 1, Primorix will go there after finishing the third dream. The tower levels combine elements from every other level, and they really ramp up the difficulty here.
So one of the things Apple is looking for here is for these propeller rats to cooperate. So far they are.
I would like to interject to note that Primorix did the fast Dream 3 with the damage boost catch. He's a legend.
Nice. Anyways, yeah, Tower 1 is a possible lead change level because the rats, you need to pogo off of them to get where you're going. And sometimes they don't move the right way. This crusher room's not too bad. There's not a lot you can do to speed it up. Apple's gonna wait here for a bit, and then go now.
Yeah, it's good that the bubble spawned for him. We'll see it again when Primorix gets there, but when he reaches a certain point in the auto-scroller, he has to jump out to the right and then move back to the left. But he has to do that in order to spawn a bubble earlier than intended, so that when it's in a certain spot when you're ready to get to it. And
oh, he did that on purpose.
I'm guessing he did due to health reasons.
He was at 2 circles going in. No, he was at half.
Oh, okay. Well,
that makes sense.
I guess it's not a PB attempt, so yeah, why not?
There's a lot that can go wrong in the next couple of rooms. I mean, luckily that went okay, but there's still no health here. And so he'd have to go through the next couple of darkness rooms and not make a mistake. Better to take the death and refill.
I suppose.
Would you yellow it?
Probably. Alright, there's one more thing that Apple has to overcome before the boss fight, and that's another hover meanie. Cleverly hidden in this silhouette room. Oh no.
Oh my
Apple, no.
That's a lead change.
And unfortunately for Apple, I'm not sure if he was going for a specific setup that he knows, but there are multiple setups in that room where if you jump in specific spots, you manipulate where you are when you bring the hover meanie on screen, and that determines how it reacts. And so more often than not, if you jump in a specific spot, the meanie will just sit in place and fan instead of bothering you. Unfortunately for Apple, as we saw, okay, the exact same thing happened to Primorix. Now, if Apple dies again, okay.
There we go. So there is a safer setup if you just wait on the platform, wait for the meanie to move, stop, and then pogo over it. It's quite a bit slower, but you probably won't die doing that. Speaking of dying, Black Knight 3?
Technically, yes, 3. Keeping the stun lock is much harder, as Black Knight's invulnerability time is much shorter.
So the previous tip I had in planes for just aim for his head probably doesn't apply here. Instead, you probably want to swing as his body hits the ground. Watch Black Knight's movement, not Shovel Knight's.
Yeah, it's more important that you get your hitbox of your shovel out sooner, because if Black Knight gets like a certain amount of time, he will transform, which wastes all of the time in the world.
Oh yeah, he'll grow wings, and he'll fly around, and then you can't hit him very much. Ah, the perfect Black Knight stun lock. Feels so good. Can't breathe yet though, because Tower 2 is another possibility of a lead change. This room with the rats and the platforms is pretty difficult. you have to go through this upper pass. You can't make it in the lower one. And these rats are just looking to knock you into the lava. Apple took it a little safe, but he's alive. Oh boy, and then the Mario Maker room here, as we call it. The slimes and the fires can do a lot of damage. Ooh, Apple got the fast strat falling down. Health for safety, I don't blame him one bit. But then, you have rainbow bird statues. Because these things return.
Alright, Apple did the proper movement in this room.
That's right, because coming up next, you got more flying meanies. And that platform is narrow. You cannot really take any wind.
Yeah, I think Apple tried to move the statue there and jumped before his shovel attack came out, which is why he had that little hiccup.
Primorix is going to be a little off cycle. He's fine though.
Yeah.
Oh, misses the Jawa. Yeah, kill it for safety. You don't want one of those things flying around. Don't grab that music sheet. If you do, your run is invalid. Any percent runners might grab it out of habit. Don't.
At the end of the auto-scrollers, the players will have to do the boss rush section. So they'll have to refight the 8 Order of No Quarter Knights in a random order. The only thing guaranteed in this boss rush is that Polar Knight will be one of the first 3 bosses they fight.
You're taunting me, Primorix. Boss rush can be one of those parts that's really difficult for newer runners. I mean, in particular, Plague Knight and Tinker Knight are probably gonna be the most painful bosses, although Tinker Knight and Polo Knight can still hurt if done poorly. I wouldn't expect either of these runners to die in boss rush though, unless Plague Knight is particularly vicious. Apple's getting a pretty good Tinker kill here.
Yeah, he could stick to him a little harder, but overall good. Now, something to note about the boss rush room is that compared to all the other boss rooms, it's actually smaller. That's because of the collision on the sides of the room. There is also no ceiling, so the King Knight fight will differ in that you can't get fast pogos off the top of the room.
Yeah, Primorix fighting Plague Knight. There's no breakable floor here, which may change the fight a little bit, but not too much. I mean, Primorix is probably thankful he got Plague first.
I was going to say, that probably made him really happy. He's actually gotten a pretty good setup for the first few bosses, because, Plague starts in a specific spot and then tries to jump to the other side of the room. And then Mole and Polar, that doesn't really matter how far away from them you are, you can always do the same strat. Primorix messing up his jumps just a little bit, so he's taking a lot more damage than he probably should be. Not that it matters much since there's a turkey between every boss, but yeah. applesauc actually getting stunned by King Knight.
I think he was going for a specific quick kill that Apple's been practicing. Of no pogo at all, just swing away.
Yeah, more shenanigans with holding both directions at once. Right, Spectre Knight behaves the same way. The only thing different is that you instead want to do a lot of ricochets on the top of the screen.
No coin flip this time.
Yeah.
But Apple gets it.
Excellent.
So one pro tip for players looking to survive boss rush: try to leave that dinner plate as long as you can, but then between fights, open it up. Because if you leave the dinner plate around, you might have twice the health to work with.
Alright, even though Primorix only has one boss left, that boss is Tinker Knight, which has 2 phases.
On the other hand, Propeller is a quicker fight.
Yeah, and Plague can also be pretty quick depending on how nice he is.
On the other hand, he can also be really slow if he's not nice.
Correct. Luckily, Apple has all the resources he needs. He has full health and a platter there, which will hopefully still be there later. Well, he's opened it and taken it, so...
You don't want to die here. Like,
No.
Plague Last and Boss Rush is actually one of the things you really don't want to see, because he's one of the most likely to kill you. And if you die at the end of Boss Rush, that's like 3 minutes lost. Alright, both our runners out of the Boss Rush. Apple's still firmly in the lead, but an unfortunate spill in Tower 3 or against Enchantress could still turn the tide. Isn't Plague last canon? Well, Plague says it is, but he's a liar. So is Apple gonna go through this room without stopping? Because it's possible if you know where all the platforms are, and that is brave. That is very brave. He didn't stop at all. Like, he knows where all those blocks are gonna be, but like, it's still really scary sometimes.
Yeah, well, what's even scarier is that they don't have any collision until they've fully risen.
Yeah, Primorix taking it a little bit slower.
Right, Apple doing another setup where he uses both directions of input. That guarantees him a certain amount of damage on the Enchantress. As you can see, she only has 3 hits left.
That's gonna be an easy pogo. So like, in general, like 5 hits left is what you want it to be at before you go down. 6 is doable. 7 is also doable, but probably like requires perfect execution.
Yeah, Primorix had a very scary fight, but he nailed it.
Alright, so there's not a lot left to Remnant. She raises her right hand, so you stay on the right side for safety. And then Shield Knight started off going to the right first, so she's going to be on the right side when she raises the shield.
No, Apple. Unfortunately, like no pogos, but since he had dealt the 8 damage necessary, Remnant went to the next phase.
And GG, we have a winner in applesauc.
Yes, that guarantees Apple a spot in Grand Finals of the tournament, I do believe.
Yes, this is the winner final, which means applesauc will now have to wait for the entire loser bracket to catch up and then play whoever wins loser. And GG to Primorix. Dang, that was a crazy race. Constant lead changes, kept it close the whole way.
That was exciting.
Hey,
joined by
Primorix.
Primorix. How do you feel?
The worst part is I had a chance to win it too, even after the Clockwork Tower death, but
Hello.
you know, I just made 2 mistakes and that was one too many.
So welcome, applesauc.
Hi. Okay, so if I win the tourney, I am given the power to completely remove low percent as a category. It's just gone.
Denied.
That's not the thing.
As a concept, it's destroyed.
No.
That was a crazy race, though. Like, the lead changes were, well, happening a lot.
I played pretty well up the stranded ship, and then things went wrong everywhere.
I played well up to the Clockwork Tower last auto-scroller, and then I made just a dumb mistake.
Yeah, the daggers were not kind to you.
Yeah, I mean, what happened was I thought I was up the ladder, so I jumped to try to jump over the dagger, but I wasn't quite all the way up, so I just dropped down and died.
That's rough.
Yeah. And then I should have, like, I don't know, maybe it's unlucky, maybe it's bad execution to have the Jawa mess me up in Tower 1, but if I didn't jump, I would have been fine. So, that's my fault too.
I also died to that Jawa.
Oddly
Yeah.
enough, you both died in the exact same way, doing the exact same movement.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I mean, you're not out of the tournament yet, Primorix. You still have the losers bracket.
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna be tough. No
Neither
matter
of us
who
is
it's
against.
against. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, hopefully I can just not make the mental mistakes I did this run. Give myself a chance to at least get second. That would be cool.
I'm sure you can do that. Are there any, like, training things you guys are going to try, or, you know, things you're going to do to prepare for your next match?
Not mess up the propeller kill every time anymore.
That is a great strategy.
I mean, for me, I'm just gonna hopefully keep playing the game. You know, keep grinding. I probably won't worry too much about like the next race until it's a couple days away, just because I'd rather do like more PB attempts than a lot of race prep for who knows how long. But
Yeah, that makes sense.
you know, hopefully I can just get put in some more weird situations and figure out how to handle them, because that's what I lost this race to, was weird situations that I have only seen maybe a couple times before.
I think that's a testament to, like, how deep this game can be, because, I mean, you've been running the game since 2015, and granted, like, low percent isn't a category you run extensively, but still, like, the fact that there's scenarios that you haven't seen often is just, despite how long you've played the game, just,
Mhm.
you know, says that there's still more to learn.
Yeah,
everybody.
definitely. I mean, even here, I mean, I can look at my attempts. I've done at least 300, even in low percent. Yeah, like 330 about. You know, it's not a huge amount, but it's a good amount. I've seen a good amount of this category, so. But obviously, I still have a long way to go.
Right, well, I think that's it for us tonight. Thanks for the race, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you for commentating.
GG
course.
Primorix.
Yeah, GG. Good luck.
Alright, until next race, folks, I'm Munchie Koopas,
And I am David.
and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye!